How's it going, everyone? Cody Bernardi here with another YouTube video. And in today's video, I want to do a remake on one of the first videos I posted on this channel, I believe back in 2018. And that video was creating a GIAC certification or GIAC or SANS index. I don't know what I named it, but it's for GIAC certifications. And if you're unfamiliar with what GIAC is, it is spelled GIAC, and it's one of the leading cybersecurity certification authorities. They pair up nicely with SANS courses. They're not mutually exclusive, but the GIAC tests are based on SANS courses, so they're pretty much, by most people, are going to be intermingled together, even though they're technically not the same thing. So back in 2018, I was doing the SEC 560 course, which was the network penetration testing course, and the equivalent GIAC certification is the GPEN. I just did SEC 588, which is the cloud penetration course, which focuses heavily on cloud pen testing. And the certification that goes with that is the GCPN, and I just passed that. Thank you so much. I know a lot about containers now, way more than I did earlier this year. But regardless, I'm not going to be talking about the class. The class was phenomenal. Thank you, Moses Frost, for putting together such a phenomenal course. It was really engaging. It talked about subjects I personally knew already, Shodan, Nmap, Masscan, but there was so much more in that class that I don't think I would have been exposed to on just like my regular job, which is vulnerability management. Now, I can't show you any of the course material that is copyright. It's quite literally copyright by SANS as well as GIAC, and I'm sure Moses also has a stake in that, so I'm not going to be sharing any information that is in that class, but I could certainly show you what the workload looks like, and I will get you kind of prepared for your first GIAC exam. Depending on the course you do, your bundle may look a little different than this. Now, the first SANS course I did was SEC 401, which is the Security Essentials Bootcamp, I believe that's what they call it, back in 2017. Fun little bit of information. I did, and I try to continue to do SANS West in San Diego, and I was at SANS, my first SANS ever, SANS West 2017, and I was an on-call analyst at Amazon, and that just coincidentally lined up with the same time as the WannaCry, like, breach stuff, like all that fun stuff, May 2017. Fun times. Anyways, so my stack isn't really much. If I probably still do somewhere my SEC 401, it was probably that much material. Also, these books right here do not contain the workbooks. There's workbooks that you can like follow and all of that. This is just pure information in these books. And I'm sure I could show like one page real quick. Like, I don't think they would freak out about that, but that's kind of what it looks like. You know, I'm doing a bunch of highlighting. I read every single page of all these books. It's a lot of content. So I would encourage you to do the same. So let me just give you kind of a rundown on when you take your SANS class, if you end up doing SANS, because again, you don't need to do SANS classes to take a GIAC cert, but you should probably take the SANS class to take before you take the GIAC cert. Just saying. I took this back in May, SEC 588. I took back in May, and I scheduled out for the longest amount of time possible. It gave me enough time to get prepared and all of that, but my workflow is kind of unique. I don't know if other people are like this, but I waited until the last couple weeks to actually start preparing for the exam. The reason I did that is because I knew, even going through the class, that a lot of the stuff covered in the class was kind of net new information to me. So if you don't know what I do for a living, I do vulnerability management with a hint, a hint of threat intel. But this stuff is pretty much all net new to me, aside from like the recon stuff. So I wanted to dedicate time and actually go page by page, brick by brick, and read everything and highlight things that I thought would be interesting. Now, of course, I could show you, and I'll blur out the contents at least, of what my index looks like. But what I did differently this time than I did not do last time with the G Pen was, and I'll show you an example, okay? I hope to God they aren't going to freak out about this. It's one page. I just want to show you the format. So the format of these has kind of like a highlight on the top, just kind of like a brief description. And then on the bottom of your books will have a ton of information that probably isn't covered at the top. What I did with the G Pen was I just went off the top. And whatever was highlighted at the top, when I mean highlighted, I mean this area up there. That's what I went off of. Rookie move. Don't do that. Read everything and highlight things. So I read every page of all of my books. I have 5 books. And I added things to my index as I went. And it's a very simple index, and I could show you a screenshot. Obviously, the contents are going to be redacted, but it's very simple. Key term, book number, page number, and a brief description of what that looks like, of whatever the term is. Now, what I typically ended up doing is certain like things that were super important would have their own page in the book. So like, for example, like Docker will have its own, Docker, at least in this course, would be its own section, but something that's really important would have its own page at least. And that's what I would name it. So the naming is really going to be dependent on you, as far as what you want to name the term. I typically, one thing I didn't do last time that I did this time that saved my ass is if there was a subject that was reoccurring a lot. So obviously cloud pen testing, you're going to be talking about AWS, just like these different cloud service providers. I made those their own section. So AWS : and then whatever the subject is. So if I want to look up about AWS IAM principles or service count or whatever the case is, AWS IAM, that's its own definition. I don't want to be finding IAM and then like AWS and then IAM in Azure. It's everything AWS, everything Azure, everything GCP. If it's one core subject, it would be core subject and then the child of that subject, if that makes sense. The parent subject, the child subject. Also GCP and index. Gang, gang, baby. So that's what I did. The format, I did my index horizontally instead of vertically, so it gives me more space so I could get all my terms listed there just fine. Another thing I did, and this is the same thing I did as last time, is each individual row would be a different shade. So it'd be like white and then a gray shade, white, gray shade. It's just easier. I mean, you could see that, I would hope. Like each line is distinguishable from one another. And then obviously you sort it by alphabetical. So, okay, that's A's, D, C, blah, 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 blah. Same thing I did last time, alphabetize it. Now, one thing that is different is they actually provide you an index, but this is a fair warning. This is a super mega duper duper fair warning to everyone. Do not trust the index Sans gives you. For the love of God, do not, I repeat, do not rely on the Sans index. I printed it out and it did come in handy. There were certain things in there that I did not have, but they don't group it the way that I feel is the most efficient. So I'll give you an example of one of them they give you. So API keys obviously will be talked about in a course like this. They give you book number, all the references anytime that term shows up. API keys shows up, book 1, blah, blah, blah. It's not, maybe I could show you kind of what I'm talking about. I don't know if it wants to focus. It's not efficient. I get it, why they do that. Still make your own index. For the love of God, people, please do your own index. Do not rely on this. This is a backup to something that you might have missed. And honestly, I got most of my stuff done. It was, covered. I don't know how much I need to emphasize it. The index I give you is not enough, period. point blank. Let's see. You get 2 breaks. You get 2 15-minute breaks during your GIAC exam. I never took breaks before. I figured I would try it once, and gives you 15 minutes. It stops the 2-hour timer and you get 2 of them. That's nice. All these exams, they've always been proctored. You always got to be in a area, people watching you. And yeah, I think that's it. And then it's obviously it's always been open note. I've always brought in materials that I thought would be handy, like, you know, this whole trail map right here. We got different workflows, how authentication works, and all of that. So I guess the main takeaways from this is, while my workflow of making my index has not changed, and it has yielded, you know, obviously certifications, the one thing that definitely helped me out, because I had like 10 minutes to spare, was grouping everything by component. Like everything that's AWS is AWS. Everything Azure is everything in Azure. Docker, all of that. Containers, everything is kind of grouped together. And then also bringing alongside as kind of like a secondary index is the one that SANS gives you. Please don't only rely on that. You will probably fail. And then as far as the exam goes, it's no different than what it was before, where it will pick up on things that are so like nuanced that if I did not read everything in these books, I would 100% have failed this exam. So that was very important for me to go by and highlight anything that I could think that might be a term, even if it's not highlighted at the top. If it's like a you know, a library in, you know, Python or something like that, I would make an individual line. My index has over 500 terms in it. I don't know how many come with the SANS one, but I can tell you it's not 500. So anything you can think of, spend the 10 seconds it takes to put it into your index. And if you don't even have a way to describe it, like use Google, get a definition, like XYZ thing definition, and then just paste that in there. I use Google Drive to print this out. You should use Google Drive and then do frequent exports to local. You could do local, you know, whatever. I just use Google Drive because I've had issues in the past with my SEC 401 where I did it locally and kind of had to restart. So use Google Sheets. Anyways, I'm just yapping at this point. I'm really excited. Your boy is GCPN certified. So I don't know which next SANS class I'm going to take, but I will let y'all know which one I do. So anyways, that is it for this video. If y'all enjoy content like this, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification enabled so you get notified anytime I post a new video. This was kind of a big thing for me. I have not been really focused on much else other than this, but happy she's all done. Yeah, I think I could get some more security content out there now that I got all this done. So stay tuned, y'all. And I'm also still needing to build a new computer, which is now my #1 priority because half my screens don't even work at this point. So anyways, that is it for this video. Y'all take care. Goodbye. Come on.